Hi there, my name's Rob. I'm a handyman, do-it-yourselfer, and just a mechanical engineer, and how do I make it better at heart. And here today I'm going to talk about how to have the best of both worlds. Starting to get hot out, and starting to want some nice cool air conditioning. But I also have these radiators, right? So that means we got boiler heat, and that means as soon as the hot, heat comes up and the AC units go in the windows, now there's no more fresh air, right? So kind of like some days and some cool evenings, you like to have that fresh air coming in, right? So so you're kind of locked in once you put the AC unit in the window. Well, I'm going to show you how to have the best of both worlds. So check this out. Now we got the fresh air coming in. How in the world did I do that? Alright, I'm going to show you just now. Alright, so here we go. We're going to talk about and show you today how to make it so that your older house, which has boiler heat, you don't have to give up that nice fresh air on those nice cool evenings or those nice cool afternoons once you put your AC unit in the window. What you'll be able to do is do this modification that I figured out, and I'm going to show you how to do here today, that allows you to not only have the AC unit in your window, but it'll also allow you to open up, let some fresh air in. So sometimes a fly gets in here. So the key here is I've installed kind of a stabilizer bar here at the very top support edge of the AC unit, which you'll actually fasten the AC unit to. You'll fasten it to this support bar here instead of traditionally the window, right? Traditionally, you would actually just fasten your AC unit to the window. The window would actually bear the force and the weight of the AC unit, but that eliminates the ability for your window to go up and down, right? But you install this bar, and I've installed a little insulation deal here that just allows the window to seal down and seal better. So what we've done here is created this bar, all right? And that's the real key to this. You also will have to then put another piece of wood between the bar and the screen. So you'll have to have this piece of wood in here bridge this gap so that you can keep the screen, because the screen's only going to bottom out at the top of the unit, but then you're going to have this gap here between outside and in your bar. So we're gonna go through all these steps here for you. All right. So here we go. So we're gonna start with this bar. So what you're gonna wanna start with is basic simple 2x2. You're gonna buy this at any hardware store. It doesn't matter the length. You're just gonna need it at least as long as the opening of your window, right? So first thing you're going to do is measure. You're going to measure from the inside of the track from one side to the other. There'll be a little bit of modification here as we get around some of these things like the sliders, the sliding guides. We're going to have to get around that. We're going to actually have to create some modifications to this bar, and you can see here it's a little hard. You can see how I've actually created some grooves in there. I'm going to go to a different window, which will be a little bit easier to see this. All right. Different room, different window, slightly different unit. Same concept though. We got this bar up here. And what you'll see is I actually installed this kind of rubber insulation to act like the gasket like I had on that other one. The other one is kind of a later version, which I upgraded the sealing seal to a little bit more of a well sealing thing that you'd actually put right on the edge of your door, winter door, storm door, to seal better. So what I started off, my first version was with this just kind of basic kind of a foam. And anyways, it's a little easier to see what I was talking about earlier about how you have to cut out some grooves to get around this track here. You're going to start with a 2x2, which is just about perfect to fit within the width here of the window. And then we're going to cut it to the right length after we measure. And then we're going to have to cut in some of these grooves. And I'll show you a few more details here as we go. Alright, well here's my latest project. Here's the new next window to get an AC unit and this nice best of both worlds modification bar. So you can see we've got our radiator heat, so we're stuck. We don't have any way to actually use central air. So here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure this distance. We're going to be trying to figure out how long we want to make this bar. We're using a basic 2x2. We got it at your standard, lumber store, your basic Lowe's or Home Depot. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to measure this opening here. We're going to go from the inside track, and we're going to go all the way to this side here. So we're just going to measure that up. Looks like we're right at about 36 inches, just maybe an eighth or so shy, and we'll have to probably go back and forth a couple times fine-tuning the actual length of this bar here, but we'll fit it and make sure we get it just right. So we're also going to measure the width here, and so we're right at about 1.5 inches, and if we look at our 2x2, that's just about the right width of a standard 2x2. So again, we might have to fine-tune that just by a little bit, but we're gonna get all these fine-tuning cuts here as we fit it into place. Here we go. All right, so the first step making our stabilizer bar is we're going to cut it to the right length. We've already measured real carefully from inside of window to the inside of window track. And that's how we came up with this dimension, 36 inches. This is going to be very specific to your window, so you're going to have to measure your window real carefully to get this cut to length just right. So here we go. Let's make our first cut. So our next challenge is we need to, so you can see we've cut our board to just about the right length, but it's not actually going to fit in there all the way until we make a couple notches to get around these kind of guides here that the window frame slides on. So I'm just making a note here of where we're going to have to cut that out. We're going to have to cut it, about this deep, right? I mean, we're going to have to make that notch roughly that deep. I'm just eyeballing it here. That's probably about 3/8 of an inch. So, what we're going to be doing is, whoops. We're going to be coming out here maybe about 3/8 of an inch. It's okay if you go a little bit deeper. It's okay if you go a little bit deeper here, but you're going to have to basically go far enough here to clear this distance here, right? So we're going to do this on both sides. We're just going to want to make this notch right there, and I'm just kind of coloring in about how far deep I'm going to probably cut the notch. So again, we're just trying to go this distance here into the board. Alright, so that's our next step, is to make those notch cuts. So the way I like to make these notch cuts is on the table saw, and I like to just pass it back and forth over the saw blade using this guide to center it, to guide it, to settle, to guide its location really accurately. So the first thing I need to do is just set the saw blade down to the right height to match up with this distance that I'm hoping to get here. So that's what I'm going to do next. So you can see here what I've done now is I've set the saw blade. There's an adjustment on any good table saw where you can raise and lower the saw blade. So I've lowered the saw blade down so it's just going to create that distance. And my next step is really to set the this guide so that I make the right cut here. All right, so I'm going to put the camera down here for a second while I get that set to the right distance. So at this point I've got it pretty close as far as just about where I want it for that cut. So I'm gonna give that a try. I might have to move this guide in and out just a fraction of an inch just to get it right where I need it, and that's what I'm gonna do yet off camera here. So there we go, just finished making those cuts, and literally all I did is I passed this back and forth while the saw was going, and with this nice guide I was able to get a real accurate, nice straight cut to create this this groove that's going to fit along the track of the window guide there. So let's go up and see how it fits. Alright, so here you can see I've actually just done a preliminary test fit here in between the frame and this distance here is where the AC unit's going to go, and then we're going to allow this window to come down and match right up against this bar here, just like that. And the AC unit's going to attach to this bar, and that'll allow us to keep make it so we can open up that window just like that. So it fits pretty good, and you can see how now that notch fits right there, and it allows the bar to kind of sink right in there to the end. You can see at this end maybe we're maybe we could have cut this bar maybe about another eighth, maybe quarter-inch longer, fit in there, but it's got plenty of meat here on both sides here, where it's going to be held really stable. On this side, it's really super solid. You can see how it's holding up against here, and it's holding up against here. There is no way this is going to allow that AC unit to slip out. It's going to support it really nicely. Even at this, you can see how much meat it's holding onto the window frame here. And you can see that here. So there's plenty of support. Even though we cut it maybe an eighth of an inch short, it will be just fine. You can see that groove right there, and it's getting right past that guide right there nicely. One thing I have found is the installation process when you're putting this in and out goes nice if we cut just a little bit of an angle off of the edge here, so as we kind of raise it and lower it in there, it goes in there a little smoother. What that looks like here, I'm just going to pop it out here. So what I'm talking about is it's just shaving this off just like about like this, just doing a little shave cut, not too much, and only about a maybe half of it. So we're gonna remove this material here, and that just allows you to kind of angle it in and get it in there a little bit easier, a little bit with a little less struggle, and it'll still hold with plenty of firmness. So don't worry, we're only gonna do that on one end. We're gonna just make that kind of the installation end with the angle cut, and believe me, it'll just make it getting in and out fall and spring a little bit easier. All right, so we're gonna go make that cut next, and then we're gonna really start the installation process. Before the cut, and this is just the nice little angle installation cut. It's gonna make the installation of this bar in the spring and the fall, when you take it out, that much easier. It just gets the bar in and out, kind of as you have to angle the bar in and out. Makes that a little bit easier on you. So this is before, and I'll show you here after. I'm just going to do this cut freehand. It's really not that critically, technically needing to be that accurate. So I'm just going to do this freeform. Right, and there we are. There's the cut. And so here we are about to do another test fit. And as you can see, you know, here it is horizontal. You can see how I've cut that angle, because mostly you're going to be installing this at an angle, right? So you're going to have to start at an angle and then fit it down in, right? So that's why just having this angle cut here is kind of nice. It makes it get in and out here a little easier as we try to fit it in. All right, so the next step is we're just going to assemble this whole thing. We're going to put the AC unit in, and I'll show you exactly how this whole thing hooks up and fits together.
Fiddling around. Can I sneak in here? Whoa!
So what you're going to want to do is you're going to secure the AC unit to the stabilizing bar with the AC mounting holes, using whatever screws you find to be the right length and appropriate, or whatever came with the AC unit. Sometimes there's one right on the AC unit, right in the middle. I kind of like those because this really anchors the whole AC unit to the bar nicely. This actually unit is small if it doesn't actually have those, so we're only going to anchor the AC unit with these two end ones at the top and at the bottom. So we're going to be doing that on either end. On some units you'll also add that third one right in the middle to the bar. So we'll get that screwed in there so the AC unit stays nice and secure right where it belongs. Well, we got the stabilizing bar in place, and as you can see, it's in there real nice. And it is taking the load of the AC unit, so now the whole weight of the AC unit is resting up against this bar, and that makes it so that we're independent of the window. The window can freely move up and down now, as freely as old 100-year-old windows do, that is. So, but anyways, there's one last step, and that is this gap here between the unit and the house window inner frame. And even as we move the screen window down, you can see we got this gap here on either side. And you know, that's going to let bugs in here, right? So that's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually measure, cut, and install a piece of wood that's going to lay right on top of here, like you saw on that other board that we on that other unit that we already have installed, and we've already done this. So we're going to measure this up. We're going to measure from from this inner surface to this inner surface, and we're going to measure from this distance here to span that distance there, and we're going to measure that up real careful and cut that nice and accurate. What we're trying to do is we're trying to put a board down here that's going to bridge this gap. So, you know, what do you think? 2 3/4, and then we're going to go from inside to inside. So we're somewhere right about 35 and a half here. So 35 and a half by, what do you think? 35 and a half by 2 3/4. Yeah, I'd say 2 3/4. 35 and a half by 2 3/4. Let's make some cuts, see how it fits. All right, so we've cut our, what I want to call the bug protector board, and I've got a couple other items here that I'm going to show next. These are kind of the final kind of finishing touches to kind of seal it up nice. So here's the board, and I've already fit it in there once, and what we're trying to do is we're going to fill that gap right there. We already measured it, and now we just fit it in there. And quite literally, what we've done, we just put it on top of the unit, and what we've done is we've just kind of sealed up between this support bar and the screen, and we've made it nice and bug proof. Except for these, I used an old scrap piece of 1x4, I think it was. I ripped it down to 2 3/4. Cut it to the dimension 35 and a half. You're going to have to obviously make this custom fit for your window width and opening. But I just used an old scrap piece of wood, and I'd actually used it prior. So I'm going to have to just use a little caulk or something and fill in these holes to keep bugs and maybe mosquitoes from finding their way in. So the only other thing we really had to do is these little spots here on the very edge here. There's a gap there, and I use just your basic pipe insulator, and what I do is I just lop off a little piece of that, and then I just put that right in this spot here. So I'm going to make those cuts, and then I'll show you how it fits in. Alright, so we're just going to take these two pieces. What I did is, this came off the end of here. I made a cut, and then I just cut them in half, because I actually only need about half that for each side. So I'm going to take these, and I'm going to seal up these little openings here. It's just a simple little piece of foam insulation. So we're going to want to just seal up that little spot right there. Go. So now we're all nicely sealed up, nice and tight on both sides. You can see this is a real nice, tight, sealed up gap. No mosquitoes are getting in and out here to bite you in the middle of the night here. So on those nice, cool evenings, you can open up this window here, let the breeze in. No mosquitoes are getting in that opening. The last thing I like to do is put a little seal on this inside edge, because what you'll see is when the window comes down, there's going to be just a little bit of a gap there. You can see just a little bit of an air gap, and you know what, we're just going to try to make that even more efficient air conditioning by just sealing that up with a little bit of a gasket. I'm just going to put just any old piece of foam will do. On the other window I showed you, I actually put a real door, piece of seal that you put on a storm door that you tack on the side to make your storm door. That's even overkill. What I'm just going to do is use a little bit of foam. Just got some random foam here. I've already cut a couple pieces that are just about the right length. Would have been nice to have one continuous piece, but whatever. Just I used the material I had. None of this is really needs to be very technically specific or high quality or anything. You just need to find some random something foam. This can be typically packaging material you get out of something you get shipped to you from Amazon or whatever. Just take some old piece of packaging they got your latest whatever thing that you had mailed to you. So I got these two pieces. I'm going to put these right in here. So I'm going to just tack this. I'm going to just put it in place for now. And then what I'm going to do is just you know, kind of get it laid in here. I'm just going to use some simple little, tiny little. Just going to use these tiny little, you know, nails. Just going to use those to just kind of tack it down here and there, and just enough to get it on there. And then when it's, you know, when it is finally tacked on there, you'll see that when this comes down, it's going to form a real nice seal. How about, well, you know, there you go. All right, well, anyways, it's better than it was, and for at least most of it. And anyways, I could monkey around with it for days to try to get it just perfect, but that'll be just a nice little addition to give it just a little bit of a seal. So, so I'm going to tack that in, and then we should be done with our project here. All right, so we just used a couple of these little small little nails, and we just tack this little piece of foam down. And you know how that looks is kind of like this. So that little piece of foam is just going to add a little bit of a seal when we bring that window down. Yeah, it just kind of makes a nice little seal there. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe about as good as we can do for this good old window. You know. So there you go. All right, man, our project is complete. So we got our AC unit installed, and by putting in this nice little bar here, we made it so we can just open up this window, let a little breeze in when we want to. Otherwise, we can just shut it up nice and tight, run the air, and stay nice and cool. So hope this was helpful. Comment below, follow, like. Thanks, guys. I'll come up with another good one here sometime soon.